Welcome to the podcast that's been named one of the very best in marketing research. You have arrived at Research Business Daily Report. Go to RBDR's exclusive community at the crowdfunding platform patreon.com/RBDR where you can yourself lend your support. This is Bob Lederer, for more than 25 years, the respected voice in market research. Welcome to Market Research in the COVID-19 Era, episode 72, and I must say one of the most important, if not the most important report that we have brought to you since March 15th. We feel privileged to present Soapbox Sample Chief of Operations Jacqueline Rosales for, without any doubt, the most unusual commentary in this series to date. Since March, you have heard from guest commentators every Monday through Thursday about what the coronavirus has been doing to research. Today, in what I can only describe as a reversal of that situation, Jacqueline tells us how the research industry, specifically Soapbox Sample, has entered the struggle to impact the virus and had success. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a true research industry breakthrough and something that can do immeasurable benefit to our industry. Research has been activated to join the battle against the coronavirus. And this, what Soapbox Sample is talking about today, is only the start of this proactivity if we make it as such. Jacqueline is Southern California based. However, she is prepared to advise other research agencies about how they can take on the virus in their own geographies. Without further ado, Jacqueline.
Thanks, Bob. So I was super excited when I heard from you. I wanted to chat with you a little bit about the antibody research that we are currently working on through ISA. Where did this come from? And really, it was a chief science officer at LA County trying to understand, we were in shutdown, what is it that we're going to do? That chief science officer happened to be the roommate of one of the chief executives at our organization, and they were having a chat. This is a huge problem we have to solve. We do not know how to do it. I need a representative population of LA to understand the prevalence of COVID-19. And we said, I think what we do applies. And we started together as a partnership in a pro bono effort to really understand what was going on. And now it has, derived into 5 months of ongoing research in many counties and to really understand the impact. We have partnered with local governments across multiple big counties within Los Angeles and the surrounding areas here in California. And our job has been working with scientists, the medical professionals, chief science officers, and universities to actually test a representative population within each of these communities. So from a research perspective, we kind of had to take a step back, like this is not what we do, right? We have not tried to drive people in a representative manner to show up and conduct a medical test, especially during a worldwide pandemic. So you can imagine the challenges that we had. All of our work, Bob, that we did in this design was a little bit different in that it also had to be approved by the IRB, which is an internal review board. And that allowed us to be able to do the research part, the medical part, make sure everything was separated. And what we did, very complicated, we went in with multiple methodology approach across our organization. So telephonically, listed landline, mobile. We leveraged our qualitative database that has been built in person over the past 25 years across the area, especially think how rich that is within the LA County area and those surrounding communities. And then, of course, we were able to leverage online. Now, we had to build a very complicated system that's really 3 parts that allowed us to screen these folks, understand their behavior. We, of course, had to get release of liability and consent for them to be able to actually participate in the research, build a scheduling system to drive, at this point, almost 10,000 community members through this protocol. We started, Bob, as drive-through, right? Don't get out of your car, you get a finger prick. It has evolved now to, in some counties, we have entire families coming in, full blood draw, 2-week result. And a lot of people say, well, what does this research mean? And what is it going to do? And how is it going to help us? And, when we started forever ago in March, right? It's so hard to believe that we're only 5 months from that time. It was really to understand the prevalence, right? At that point, there wasn't testing. There wasn't the ability. All we knew was sick people, right? If they were sick enough and able to get a test. And so we studied that initial prevalence. And then from now, it has really evolved to understanding what is serosurveillance behavior. So if people know their serosurveillance status, meaning I have antibodies or I don't, does their behavior change? Now we're trying to understand antibodies themselves. So now we're moving from a CLT to a tracking study, right? So people think like, how did you get involved in this? How is a research company doing this? Well, we need representative populations. The scientists need to understand what's happening, and that's what we do for a living. And so it is very, very interesting to see real research approach. Now, keep in mind, we're also dealing with academia, Bob. And so we're trying to combine market research, academic research, medical research, again, during a pandemic when things are changing every single day, and trying to make sure that people can get out. Something interesting, Bob, we also did ethnographies, if you look at it. We had to go in home. There were some populations, underserved populations, don't have the ability to drive to a site. They're too scared to drive to a site. Whatever the case may be, we actually had medical nurses, medical students from the various universities, another scheduling and routing system, so that it probably, I'd say, about 10 to 15% of those interviews were actually conducted in home. As we look forward, we're really trying to understand not just the prevalence, not just the behavior, but now we're going to dig into some really deep cohort testing. And we're going to start tracking people over time, thinking again about those niche frontline workers, people who are out in the public, those underserved communities. I'm sure if you're following the news, you're hearing of the prevalence and how COVID-19 is really affecting the underprivileged communities. We have been able to expand this research out into many, many areas. And a lot of times people say, this doesn't seem like something a Soapbox would do or an ISA would do. And what I want to say, to the research community is if you're looking to get involved and be part of really what's happening, whether it's in your state, your community, the country as a whole, like this is the time. And as a research company, we have to continue to evolve and we have to look at what's going on and what our skill set is. And for us, it's continually evolving with how we connect people to brands, how we connect people to their communities, and in this time, how we're connecting people to their government and to their medical. And it's been just fascinating to watch the research evolve over 5 months. It's so hard, so hard. It is so rewarding. And the privilege has been, I just feel like such an honor and working with different types of clients. Again, we're in rooms with scientists, medical doctors, epidemiologists, and just really quick anecdote I want to tell you about. It was interesting for me personally to see how media can control the narrative. So when our initial press releases came out with prevalence, there was articles that came out on every Wall Street Journal, every major news that you can, and it was polarizing, right? And then I would read our stats and our data that I knew we collected, and then I would see people's interpretation of what that meant, to fit a certain agenda. And that was all very interesting because a lot of times we're doing research is going in with the brand, right? We're not really seeing how they're molding it. We may or may not see the impact of that. But in this case, it was just really, really something interesting to be involved in. And I'm really excited. It's now evolved into I have a board position at UC Irvine and really starting to try to make an impact within our community. And we started with just a pro bono effort, Bob.
As I said before, I think what Jacqueline is talking about can have a major positive effect on the research industry, both our profile and the way that we are seen by the public. So take advantage of what she's willing to do to help you around the country. Speaking of helping, we'd like your point of view about how research has been impacted by the coronavirus for this RBDR series. Aside from the helpful insight that you'll be sharing with us and with your peers, the video that we will jointly create with you becomes a free promotion tool for you and for your business. And that, believe me, is only one of the many potential opportunities in working with us. So please email your ideas and feelings to me at rflbob@gmail.com. That wraps up today's Research Business Daily Report. As I mentioned, one of the most important we've done to date. Now, if you make it a habit to watch RBDR, thank you. And if you find that RBDR is time well spent, please recommend our video to friends and peers around the industry. And in fact, please send today's video to everyone you know. We hope that you'll also consider becoming an RBDR Patreon supporter. And you can do that by visiting patreon.com/RBDR. Have a great research day, and we'll see you tomorrow.